What's up, everybody? I'm Will Marsh, your host of the Will's World series, and I'm with one of my best friends in the entire world.
It's me, Aaron Alexander. We're out here tonight.
We are out here doing a bunch of stuff. Y'all know Aaron from all across the country. He's been on a national tour lately, which y'all will hear about here in a second. And he's with a bunch of cool organizations, which we'll talk about too. We also have a whole crew with us across the table, which you'll meet later on in the episode tonight. But we have a ton of neat things for you. Today is Tuesday, the 6th of April, and I am fired up about this right now. What about you, Aaron?
You know I'm always turned up every time we get to
Kurt, I love it.
It's lit. It's fun. We're having good times. We got ice. We got lemonade. What else could you ask for, minus the pile?
We got now and laters.
So many. So
we have a ton.
Favorite candy growing up. I used to eat these whenever I wanted to lose teeth. And you got like one of the best flavors. You got grape.
Grape.
You know, as a black man.
Oh. Well, they were out of watermelon.
No. Now or later. Now and later. You know, growing up, I thought it was called now-laters.
I don't even know what the... Is it now and later? Now and later? They need to be more places. Now and later, you guys need to work on that. But we do have them here only at the way we see it. So we have a phenomenal show for you guys tonight. I'm excited. Aaron's excited. Let's take this away.
I got one for you.
What's that?
The way I see it, we need some of these now and later.
That's good.
I'm actually going to pop one open for this.
I'm going to do that, yeah, as we start right now.
Alright, so we're talking about dogs, and I really want to get back into that. I really want to get back into it. I love dogs.
Oh, that's right. So before we were starting this show, and we were kind of talking about what we wanted to go into tonight. This wasn't even on script, but somebody sent me a link earlier this week, and I'm pulling it up now. But it was about dogs at the White House. Here's the title of the article. It's not the dog. What's really behind the White House's biting problem? Those of you who have stayed in touch with social media or the news lately, of course the news always loves to go after what's going on in Washington as well as the president. But in more recent news lately, it hasn't been just the Bidens in the news from the White House or from the Hill. Well, it has been the Bidens, I should say, but it's been other members of the family, specifically Major, the Biden's German Shepherd, who has made more media than probably anybody in that family lately, between all of the biting and attacks and dog incidences that have occurred on the grounds of the Capitol and the White House or around the officers since the Biden administration has taken place. The source of this article, it's from Politico. So Politico.com, they're a magazine. If y'all aren't familiar with them or don't follow them already. But it's actually an interesting take here. The article is by Michael Cruz. It was published on the 4th, so yesterday. But it's a variation of different dog trainers or animal experts that were interviewed from all over the country or over the world, and their conclusion was all the same, even though they have different backgrounds or different training methods or methodologies or way they practice or even animals they work on. But their consensus in the matter, which I thought was interesting because I'm a German Shepherd owner. If y'all follow any of us on social media, you've probably seen Dutch, our German Shepherd here at the farm, who goes everywhere with me. Those of my GOP friends that are on this, Dutch has been to countless Republican Party events, and people everywhere know him. If y'all want to follow him on Instagram, it's german.shepherd.dutch. So, but anyway, on the point of that, as a fellow German Shepherd owner, I'm not sympathetic to Biden or the Biden administration on many things. They certainly won, which is something to be admired, and to be fair, Biden had a force against him. Donald Trump was not an easy opponent to run against. That being said, I do respect that he is a German Shepherd owner. So seeing this story, Aaron, was cool because all these different dog owners, what their consensus is that it's not actually the dog. They said the dog needed to go home to learn behavioral training, and they're sending the poor dog away from his owner. So as a German Shepherd owner, I know that what the dog needs most is his owner. He's looking at me, staring at me in the eye right now. Y'all can't see him on the shot of this video, but it only further proves my point. And all these dog owners are saying, no, he actually doesn't need to leave the White House. The problem is not Major, the name of Biden's shepherd. The people that he's bitten have all been Secret Service agents or Park Service Ranger employees or people that work in a variation of law enforcement positions. And the people that are in those positions, especially when they're at the White House or when they're at the Capitol and they're guarding the President of the United States, dogs are great at reading energies and your personas, and that force of evil or not to be reckoned with is something that doesn't naturally vibe well, for lack of better words, with the dog. And even though they don't understand that those people are there and they're like that to protect that dog's owner, it's they're all there for the same mission. And so I don't know if you guys are dog owners. We're also here with another one of our friends, Constantine, who's here with us. What's up, man? Y'all can't see him in the camera, but y'all can hear him if he talks. So
one thing I gotta say about that is a lot of people assume that.
Speak up for us if you can.
A lot of people assume that the dog is the problem, and it's not. It's really the owner or it's the environment, and it's obvious, and people don't notice it. And they always try to blame the dog and try to shut the dog down. Even put dog down because of stupid reasons that don't even make sense.
I feel that.
Like okay, my neighbor had for a long time. He had a pit bull. One day bit, I guess it was his brother-in-law or whatever it was, and the brother-in-law basically had a dog put down.
What a shame.
Long story short, it really wasn't the dog. It wasn't. Those two were roughing around.
Hey, Constantine, I don't know if we can hear you on the mic real quick, but so what you were saying was that this was your neighbor or your cousin, and they had to put a dog down for this bite issue. Okay. I've heard countless stories like that. It's sad. It's unfortunate. Do you have a dog, Aaron?
I do have a dog. She is my baby. I call her Bean. Her name's Sasha, but she's a black lab, and she thinks she's a person. She legit thinks that she's a person. But initially, training her was like one of the hardest things for me.
How long did that take?
Well, black labs are pretty daggone smart. So it took me like maybe
they are a smart and a loyal
months.
Breed.
But a lot of it was because I was trying to use the whole treat method. And so it was like, she was like, okay, I want certain things for a treat. I'll sit down for the treat. I'll get off the couch. You're going to give me some snackies. And so, like, that was a whole thing with us. But
those are the negative sides of positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
There's where negative reinforcement would work better. No, I still can't do that to a dog, though. I love them.
I feel like there's a line, though. Like what is the line? Because when, if they pee in the house, I was, the first one. I think I might be the only one who would take her face. I'm like, no, you got to smell that pee. But you keep peeing in this house, I don't want to smell it. So, putting the face in the pee, I don't feel like that's going too far. Now, I'm not one to be like, oh yeah, go kick that dog in the face. Like, you can get your dog taken for that for good reason.
That's true.
Right? So, like, what is the line? What's the line when it is that you're training your dog?
That's a great question. I'm not a professional trainer, so
I don't need professionals.
Any of you guys that listen to the show, if y'all know a professional dog trainer, or if you are or know a canine police officer or a military dog handler, we would love to talk to one of those guys. Wouldn't that be neat to bring somebody like that on the show and actually interview them about either military or police tactics with that and canine handling and training? I'd have a lot of questions.
I think that'd be dope.
That would be cool.
Okay, so Constantine, when they put down it was a pit bull.
Yeah, it was a pit bull.
So pit bulls are really smart dogs too,
and it's sad.
Yeah. Because a lot of that comes from how it is that you like raise the dog, right? Like if you raise them aggressive, they'll be aggressive. My cousin had a big old bully. I mean, his head was almost big as this table. So, but he was the sweetest dog. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't really jump on people. When he was a puppy, he didn't realize how big he was. So sometimes you'd have to deal with that. But like, it wasn't to the point of, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about this dog, Yeah. So like, where's the line? Like when you were training Dutch, how did you train him? Like not to use the bathroom in certain places to jump on people.
I don't know if I would be the example for starters.
You're a real
literally
person.
He's growling at somebody over there as I talk about him. I don't even see. I'm sure it's somebody that belongs here. Oh, it's my brother. Dutch. I'm sorry. I was interrupted for disciplinary action for my dog. What were you asking me?
Yeah, like what that process was like training.
Again, I think I'm not the one to ask. Well, We still have a long way to go. I probably haven't done everything that I was supposed to.
He just came up to say hi in the middle of it.
We're gonna film that.
He's quiet. He's behind me now. Dutch, come here.
Hey Dutch, you're on a podcast now. What's up, bud? So we're talking about you, and on training. I really don't know what the answer is. You work with him, and I've always treated him like a person. I talk to them like a person. I discipline him like a person. He sleeps in the house. I feed him. I open the door for him and let him walk through just like I would a lady or a person. It's a respect thing. Shepherds are also easy dogs to work with. They have a huge desire to please. So we didn't have to do much for him. Somebody that has a big desire to please, they're always looking for what makes you happy. Now, I have a purebred Siberian Husky, on the other hand, which those breeds are opposite. They don't want to work with you at all. They're by far the most stubborn dog I've ever had.
Do you think you have to do more of like the dominance type training with them, like showing because a Siberian Husky, if I'm not mistaken, would be closer to a wolf as far as like genealogy.
Yeah, right? It's like an Alaskan wolf is what it is.
So do you think you have to impose more, like showing them, hey, I've got my chest out, and I am the leader of this pack?
I don't know what the answer is. I followed all kinds of Husky groups and talked to Husky owners for years, and everybody I've ever talked to just says you can never break a Husky. That's why they're sled dogs. It's because you hook them and you strap them up to the sleds, and they will just run and run and run hard straight for days until you physically steer them, or you have to put the locks in the sled and the ice to keep them from further pulling.
Oh, shoot.
And that's what their purpose is. So I don't know.
Learn something new every day on the Will's World podcast.
I like that. If y'all have dogs, let us know. Y'all have been fantastic with engaging with us on Instagram, YouTube, and primarily Facebook, as well as Apple Podcasts. We appreciate it, guys. We're always looking for stuff to talk about. We're all dog owners, and we love dogs, and we love people who love dogs. But if you have a dog, send us a picture. Post it on our Facebook wall. We'd love to meet them and have you on the show.
Heck yeah, and drop some comments in like all of our social media. Tell us what your favorite dog is. You don't even have to tell us why yet. Just tell us what your favorite dog is. Best dog gets a treat from me. I'm down for it. I'm good for it.
Actually, hey, I have an idea. All right, for a show. So we ought to do a draft. Like the NFL draft, when people draft like lineups, and then they take their teams to a game and they play each other to see who wins.
Heck yeah.
We ought to do a draft on where they go. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so we ought to do a draft on dogs. Next show, we're not going to do it now because we got to go get our lineups right. You and I we will sit here and I'll draft a dog, a breed, and then you draft a breed, and we'll go back and forth until we both drafted 5 breeds. We'll post it up on social media for a week. All of the fans can vote on both of our lineups, because let's say you choose Golden Retriever, I can't choose Golden Retriever, and we'll both have a lineup of 5 different breeds, and we go back and forth choosing just like you would in a draft, so there's equal pickings.
Yeah.
And we'll post both of our 5 draft standings for best dog breeds on social media. You guys vote on us, and you let us know, and the loser has to pay the winner $50. No, we'll make it $20.
$20 and
to make it fun.
$20 and a jump into the lake or the pond.
I'll do that. It's summertime. I've had to do worse. $20 in the pond.
Bet. So we'll do that. Who you think has sniffed more people between Biden and the dog?
Ooh, definitely Biden. I mean, I know Major has had a few incidences with contact and biting people, but I think for the record, Biden has got a lot more hands here up in places he shouldn't have been on people.
Biden's been sniffing for well over 20 years from what I see.
Yeah.
I guess I won't hold him too hard on that right now.
Yeah, we'll see. He's early on in his administration. I mean, it's a hard job. I think people feared a lot of their stances when he was vice president. And to be honest, people are terrified of guns right now. That's a social issue we can talk about. I think Obama and Biden were the 2 best NRA spokesperson we ever had.
Might have been good spokespeople, but they scared so many
people and didn't do anything for legislation on it. That's what I'm saying. They raised so much money for the NRA.
But think about the implications of scaring so many people. Like, I used to be anti-gun.
Yeah.
And I keep mine with me all the time now. But before I became a conservative, I was like, guns are the worst things. And it's like, people kill more people in cars than they do with a gun. And they're like comparably, dangerous. car, I mean, think about it. A car is going 60 miles an hour down the road. Another car is going 60 miles an hour in the opposite direction. The only thing that we have keeping those two people apart is a thin yellow line. And you're just going on trust that they're not going to ram into each other at 120 miles an hour. Just eject out of the car. It's like, that takes a lot of trust. Why don't people feel the same way about guns?
That's
Gotta know.
good logic. I mean, COVID kills more people than guns.
Yeah.
Everything
kills more people than.
So that's actually bringing that argument up about cars. I know that wasn't the point of it. We were talking about guns, but you made me think of something. So y'all are familiar with Elon Musk. If you're not familiar with Elon Musk, he was this teenager who was born to some French immigrant in Canada and grew up in a poor household. And when he was in high school, or it was either a senior project in high school or his freshman project in college, he had to do a class project, and he built a website as his, as a teenager for this project. He named the website PayPal, and then he sold it like 2 years later for a couple $1 billion, and then he went on to make these little companies called SpaceX and Tesla and a few other little ventures. But anyway, if you want to check this guy out and you're listening to us, you're obviously a podcast person, go to the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan is the #1 podcast in America for like 5 years running, and the most popular podcast correspondent. One of his most popular episodes was with Elon Musk. It's a phenomenal podcast episode. You will learn a lot about Elon Musk and who he is if you watch that episode. But anyway, on that subject and cars killing people, I don't know if you guys heard, but his latest project that he's working on, now that he's mastered a Falcon 9 rocket that can land itself back from orbit on itself, which is pretty neat.
Freaking amazing.
We need to share that video on our social media page for you guys to see that if y'all haven't seen the video of the first Falcon 9 coming back from orbit and landing, but it was neat. No, but Musk, his current project is, so he lives in LA, in California, which, if y'all have ever been to California, the traffic is beyond terrible. People from there, it's not like, so out here in North Carolina, we'll drive an hour each way to go to work, go somewhere every day. It's not a big deal. Or, we'll spend a few hours in the car every day. That's normal for us. But people, that live over there in California and out in the city, if you live an hour away, they won't come visit you, but twice a year. That's a long way for them.
So that traffic, man.
Well, yeah, it's because of the traffic. It's terrible. And so Musk is the first person who's done something about it. I'm looking at a handful of ads right now. So Constantine is just rejoined us. So you know who Elon Musk is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is the richest African American in the world.
That is
He's
true.
He's from South Africa.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's South African.
I was about to be like, he's white, right? But then I was like, I held my tongue. It's like, Aaron's always been right before. But
that's my go-to.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. So he has built the project is an underground highway system.
Oh, they're letting him follow through with that?
Well, he's had a lot of pushback on it, but he has continued to do it anyway because he's kind of been able to drill faster than they've been able to legislate, which is interesting about rich guys that have more liquid cash in the government. But, all right, so if y'all don't know what we're talking about, this project is, he's gone on TV a bunch of times and talked about it. If you follow Musk, you can look this up. He decided that traffic was always a problem and it wasn't getting better. And so he thought, the piping or plastic tubing that you would use for landscape that's black, it's 6 inches around and ribbed, that you can put to drain water. He thought if we had those underground but on a big scale, it would be very, very easy to do, and it would also allow for us to drive in plastic tubing wherever we want to go. Back in the day, we used to watch the Jetsons, and they would have jetpacks, and there would be all these, ideas of flying cars and flying, or these tubes that we could
just shoot
through the air. But the reality is what they projected back in the past for the future, we're actually going the opposite of it. Instead of aerial transport, back in the 70s, we used to have the Concorde jet, where we had supersonic flight.
Yeah.
Where you could go from New York to London in 2 hours. Back in the 70s, and now in 2020, it takes 12 hours to fly from here. I mean, it's
you gotta make stops, man.
We're making backwards. So Musk has actually, they're putting piping and tubing all under the ground in LA, and this is not a hoax. This is not a conspiracy theory. If you don't believe me, trust me. There's been plenty of people trying to stop him, and a lot of legislators. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. But it's a brilliant concept. I'm rooting for the man.
I think every time Elon wants to get involved in something, that it turns out being more efficient. I'm not willing to always say better because I think that's subjective, but it's always more efficient. Like, you look at SpaceX, NASA will throw a freaking $1 billion rocket up into space and then get like 12% of it back down.
And lose the astronauts and all the data on the project as well.
And then SpaceX, you throw it up there, it comes back from orbit.
Yeah, it comes
4 or
back
5 times, lands itself.
Only time SpaceX ever lost on a launch was on the way up. Remember when they sent their first Falcon 9 rocket up? They sent a Tesla car up with it with an astronaut suit in it. Did you not see that video?
No.
It must said when he went to space, he wanted to send a Tesla into space, and so they got a mannequin and put in an astronaut suit. So an astronaut suit.
You think
and there's a Tesla in the driver's seat. What's that?
You think he was sending it to someone?
No, there's a video of it launching it out in outer space outside of orbit and just goes.
He was getting it to the aliens.
It would be cool. I don't know. I would do that. I mean, if I had accomplished everything he had, it's like, if you're going to space anyway, why not go shoot Teslas out in the middle of space? So if there is alien life force, they can find them and know what you're about.
Yeah, it's like, all right, these guys are smart enough to make a battery car with a guy in it. I wonder how long it would take them to figure out it was a fake guy.
I don't know. It'll be interesting if it ever comes back. I mean, I guess it would implode or be destroyed upon. You've heard about this, right? You know what we're talking about. We're talking to Constantine over here on the other end of the table. Those of you guys who follow, again, we keep talking about our social media pages. Wilson's Mills Farm on social media, on Facebook, if you find us, as another account and venture we have where we have a bunch of animals. Constantine oversees that in our animal care for us out here. He's also oversees our video production, which is helping us while he's on the other end of the table. But if y'all follow us on Facebook or come and want tours or see our animals, which is what we're all about, y'all actually be talking and working with him. So thank you for being here with us tonight.
Can you lemonade me?
Yes, lemonade. Let's get both bottles of lemonade. We won't say it on the podcast, but we'll show the viewers what we got. Actually, we won't. I can read a room. I'm sorry.
Oh, you show it.
It's lemonade. It's good.
I'm watching my figure. You know, gotta get that Simply Light.
It's sugar free.
That's why it tastes so funny. All right.
Where are we at next? So I was seeing in the news this week, Aaron, you might know more about this than me. Again, I always have to pull my news articles up in front of me. And before I backtrack any further, let me cite my source. We were on Medium.com. They're another news site. But they have a lot of tech news, and they're the ones who covered this underground. Well, you can see the photo of the tunnel system we built. We'll show this photo on the video real quick. You can see right there the tunnel system. We'll show it. I'll fall out of my chair. Let me give it to you, Aaron. So they can see on the video as well. You can pull it for it closer.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Look at that adjustment.
If y'all are listening to us on audio only, y'all can check us out. We have a YouTube channel as well, which we love our subscribers there. We have a ton of interaction there, and we love you guys. That is the Will's World Podcast and Audio channel, who everybody here is a part of. But then on that station page, we have a bunch of subsequent playlist channels. One for The Way We See It with Will, Aaron, and Luke, which this show is, and again for our farm as well. But we're just a bunch of friends winging this, and we love you guys and join us on this ride. So thank y'all.
It's always lit. Yo,
lit.
Okay. Yeah, man, you gotta keep saying it. Lit. Light them candles to get rid of them mosquitoes.
Don't do that.
No, we're good. I'm not getting bit.
Not ready yet?
No.
Hey, Constantine, throw me that body armor behind you. Thank you.
Oh, I thought that was a spray.
No, I'm dehydrated. Literally, I'm not actually drinking. I went out and worked all day and didn't drink a lick of water, so it's...
Man, you better be careful. It's summertime.
Well.
Alright, before we move on, I do want to do the alien conversation. I know it's been done, it's played, but I gotta know, who believes in aliens, thinks they're real, they're out there?
Time out. First rule of the Socratic method is define your terms. So if we're going to discuss aliens, I will do this all night with you. And if we have to discuss aliens or forms from other planets or dimensions or areas and how they travel, you have to factor in time lapse in that. And if we do that, we have to have the discussion of time travel.
Okay.
And I don't even know where to begin or end with that. No pun intended.
So, I see what you did there.
Wait. I'm rushing. I need a second.
It's deep. I know it. Y'all can let that sink in while Aaron finishes his point.
Yeah, I will set up the parameters. All right. So when I talk aliens, I mean extraterrestrial life. So as of right now, we have not found. Do you guys count the bacteria on like Mars as okay? All right. So we're talking because when I think aliens,
extraterrestrial,
I'm thinking like
humanoid.
yeah. Well, not even necessarily humanoid, but at least thinking. You know, like they can process. Complex thought and emotion.
I don't know. Okay, so a podcast I listen to daily is the Bobby Bones Show. It's a huge national podcast and radio show. Last week they were talking about there on this same subject. And Bobby Bones, the host, brought up, he said, okay, so for on alien life form, he said, you know, people think that they're little green men that are short and fly around in little saucers, but he said, ultimately, we have no idea. What people are ultimately scared of is any force or control that could cause havoc or shift our way of life, or create a danger or hazard for our atmosphere or universe, anything that would impale the structure, stability, and life in itself. So they're not necessarily just little green men, but, you know, alien life form that could destroy us could be microscopically, you know, 1/4 of a centimeter small, tall. Or they could be, you know, miles and miles tall. I mean, or they could be anything in between. They could be a completely different type of matter that we haven't even. I mean, think about how human progression just over the last couple hundred or few thousand years and what we've discovered. Like it may be 1,000 years from now that we discover other forms of matter and beings that have been all around us that science hasn't been able to discover because mankind hasn't gotten there yet. And you know, aliens were right in front, or I mean, were trees. I mean, I'm not. That's a crazy thing. I'm not saying I believe that,
well,
but you have to consider that though, like we've been taught what aliens are, or we've been taught what, I shouldn't say aliens, extraterrestrial life form could be by TV, and they paint that as something that makes sense or relates to looks like us as humans. But you have to think, if it can cause damage to us, it could be a bacteria that moves here. Like, that's a different form of matter that we haven't been able to understand, which is why we think that our ozone layer is impenetrable. I don't know. So there's so many factors because we don't understand all the science of who we are and how we got here to begin with.
I think we should be doing more travel like into the ocean. We've never been to the very bottom of the ocean.
There's a lot of matter inside this Earth, inside this ozone layer that we're all stuck in that we haven't begun to explore.
Yeah, the tallest.
We don't know what monsters that we share this current planet with.
Yeah.
I like you, Aaron, on that. That's a good place to start. We had to figure out what monsters we have in our own backyard before we go poking around in other backyards.
When I was 13 years old, I had my junior scuba diving permit. So,
you used to be a scuba diver?
No, yeah, so I have my.
That's cool.
What the heck, bro?
Oh, cave diving, love it. I've done all that stuff.
Hang on, can you still do that? Like, can you get a tank?
Yeah.
I want to do an episode.
Whenever you want to go, we'll go.
All right, I want to do an episode where we chunk your ass in that pond right there, and
Check the bottom.
and we figure out. Dude, that pond's been here for 200 years. All the crazy shit that's gone through this county over the past 200 years.
We go
the mayor of this town used to own this. Like, I almost wonder, all the weapons, all the weird stuff, dude. That whole pond could have been dug because they buried a bunch of bodies. I don't know. These are all wild speculations. Yeah, there could be like a musket that was tossed in there after like they offed some Union general or like some British redcoat general and had to like scuffle it and like go back in. I don't know, like when could you come back and when could we like do an episode from the orange boat? We'll get out there, we'll be in the boat, we'll chunk you off, and you'll come up and give us updates.
Give me a month. I got you.
1 month. All right.
A month?
That's what.
Is it the cost of getting the equipment?
Yes.
If so, what's the cost?
I mean, I don't have any of my gear anymore.
So we would need like what? The flippers, the tank, goggles.
I got an air compressor. Hey,
I can't understand that,
bro. What if we went and bought you like legitimate, like a good mask, even maybe one with a light in it, flippers, and get you like, you know, one of them hose pipes, you know, like them Green Garden hoses.
Heck yeah.
We'll like duct tape it to the boat, on the bow of the boat, you know, about a foot up above the water.
I'll be ready.
Because here's the thing, dude. That pond's like 5 feet deep everywhere, and then it's soft mud. So all you're gonna be is 5 feet down and then work in the mud.
I just need snorkel.
No, because you're gonna have to keep coming up. We need to keep you flowing. All right. Anyway,
where's the deepest point?
The deepest point is that back corner up against the dam over there, and it's like 5 feet. This whole end over here in this big finger is like 3 feet.
I don't need none of that. I'll go straight in there.
We'll give you a hose pipe. We got
we gotta make sure you can breathe. We gotta.
If you have to keep coming up, it'll be annoying.
Body.
We want to keep you consistently.
We want to get.
All right. We'll do an episode on this later this week, this weekend, or next week.
We'll get a metal detector.
More to follow. All right, we're not going to argue for half an hour about the methods of this, but stay tuned. I think that's a good. I'm writing this down. Are you willing to do that episode with us?
No.
All right, we got Constantine down. This is legally binding. I'm going for the handshake. I'm going for the handshake right now.
We're writing it down.
We got the handshake. It's not on camera, but we have witnesses.
Hang on. We're gonna do it on TikTok.
All right.
We'll do it for the TikTok. Ready?
Got that shake.
Got the shake.
Constantine.
Binding on the show. Smile for the camera. Constantine is going in the pond.
I'm diving in the pond.
Yo, Aaron, we're gonna tase him right as we throw him off the boat.
Whoa.
Perfect.
I didn't agree to that one.
That was perfect. You were like, whoa, and then I cut it right off. So awesome. Thank you guys for joining. All right, so we were talking about news, White House stuff. There was something I wanted to ask you about, Aaron. I've been hearing stuff in the news lately about updates on the George Floyd case out of Minneapolis, and that police officer, that horrible thing that we saw, all of America saw, I think, where he laid on George Floyd's neck and he couldn't breathe. Do you remember that case?
I remember the case very well, and I talk about it more often than I would like to. But today,
what do you mean by that?
As they say, I have time. Because
since you talk about it more often than you'd like to, let's talk about it.
Yeah. I know so many people, and because of me being black, it's like I'm expected to be like, yeah, everything that Officer Chauvin did was wrong and that it was evil. Now, when it first happened, I think everyone agreed.
You're black, dude. This pollen is so bad here right now in April. You're as yellow as a school bus.
Heck yeah.
If y'all are on the audio only right now, Aaron.
Beep, beep. No, but it's like I'm expected to just be like, yeah, Officer Chauvin is the worst guy ever. He's a murderer like all the other cops, like on the ACAB type stuff. And I'm not that kind of person. If he did something wrong, then I'm like, throw him under the freaking prison. But until that is proven, I'm not willing to take that. And I think everyone deserves, due process. And so right now they're litigating it out in court. And I mean, I've been seeing such, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it brings reasonable doubt into the equation. Everything that I see, whether it's I saw that from the body cam, the officer who fired Chauvin and the other 3 officers who were involved, they saw the body cam footage from Chauvin's point of view. And although from our videos that we've been seeing, it looks like he was kneeling on his neck, which was at one point protocol. Now they did change that protocol later on.
Yeah, I heard that as like it looked terrible that the officer was doing it, but like it was bad because like that wasn't like an officer acting rogue. Like that's a tactic that like that they were taught to do, and he was employing the tactics, and he was following the standard operating procedure, the SOP of the police department. And there were probably, like, people think that was bad, but, like, that same maneuver was probably employed in detainee or arrest situations 100 other places across the U.S. that same day in the same hour,
It's like, there's a limit to everything. I feel like there's a point where something becomes excessive, but if that's within your training, I'm not going to fault you for that. But when you look at the video from his point of view, you can see that he's on his shoulder blade and not on his neck. Then there's also the whole point of, if you watch the entire video, I think it's like 30 minutes long. George Floyd is saying that he can't breathe before they even put him into the cruiser the first time when he kicked out. Like when he was in his car, he was saying he couldn't breathe.
So you're saying he was crying wolf?
Well, he might not have been able to breathe because he had about 7 times more fentanyl than like you can have in your body, meth and fentanyl in your body, than you can have before it's not toxic, but before it's fatal. So this man has like extreme levels of drugs in his system, and the main point, and this was brought up in the case by the defense, they asked the doctor, and they're just like, okay, can this amount of fentanyl slow your breathing? And the doctor is like, yes. And so they go on to say, why is it that fentanyl is so dangerous? And the entire reason why it's so dangerous is because it depresses your respiratory system. And so George Floyd very easily could have not been able to breathe prior to, but because of the fact that he was in the middle of a drug overdose, then you add into the fact that he already had respiratory issues, he had a heart issue, and I mean, like, there's just so much. Like, when you're stressed out, you're going to freak out. If the police were to pull up on me and I was breaking the law, my heart rate would jump. And you just throw all of these factors in, I don't feel like it's fair to just automatically say Chauvin is a murderer.
Yeah.
And so that's the conversation I've been having. It's just whether or not you write him off or whether or not we give him due process. Because the way I see it right now.
The way I see it, good terminology.
The way I see it. By the way,
who's that handsome man right there?
Is that you?
No.
With a bow tie on?
I'm pointing the guy drinking the drink.
Oh, the black guy. I don't know.
The black guy.
Jamal?
Yeah.
Jamal. You can get that man back on here. But, we looked at what happened throughout this whole past year. 2020 was just riot central. I actually went out to George Floyd Plaza last time I was in Minnesota this past year. It was like around October this past year.
Wasn't that when the riots were actually happening back in the fall?
It was shortly after.
That was a rough time to be in Minnesota, wasn't it?
Well, in general, right now it's really rough to be in Minnesota just because of all of the.
Are they still having civil unrest issues there?
Yeah, so they've gotten rid of their police department fully. We lost video over here.
Started back. We're still going over here.
That's.
So you were saying they lost.
They're not giving me anything, so we're gonna.
We're good.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep it moving. So they've gotten rid of their police out there, just almost entirely. And so with less police interaction, a lot of these people are feeling more justified and more emboldened to go out and commit crimes. The whole area where George Floyd died, they call it George Floyd Plaza, where Cup Foods is and all of that. It's like 2 or 4 blocks that's just been barred off from the general public. And there's people who still live here. Can't park on that street. Those businesses aren't opening up. And there was actually a motion to keep that closed. I'm not sure if they followed through with that yet. That's something we'd have to check on. But yeah, there's just less policing. People are stealing. People are shooting and going crazy. And there's no one to hold them accountable. And I mean, it's just one of those things that we're seeing continue to spiral and spiral to get worse. And so as I'm watching these George Floyd trials, I'm like, either way that it goes, I see more of the same getting ready to happen. If Chauvin doesn't get the death sentence, then all of these same like BLM activists and Antifa people who were out rioting before are going to come back and be like, they didn't get him. And if he is, but it's on, like, if they either get him with the death sentence, it's not going to be enough. If they do get him with anything less than that, they're going to say that's not enough. And I just see us going back into this same cycle over and over again until somebody's willing to like stand up and say, all right, enough is enough. We have to have due process.
It is. There's a lot wrong with our legal system, and I can go on about that while you get your video back up and running
I
around.
don't think it's coming, man.
You don't think it's shot? It's because you bought a Windows. It's not about software. It's all about hardware. It's if you had a Mac, it'd have been, I don't know. But no, anyway, yeah, I think that there's a lot wrong with the law. I think lawyers have continued to, work on loopholes. I think due justice is a lot of times not done. I think there's an overreach in justice where there are a lot of people that, especially before we had good science and DNA processing cases that were, put away for crimes and wrongfully committed or wrongfully convicted rather on things. And the states and feds have been slow to go back and investigate and, learn how to overturn some of those rulings as it's been lower priority, as they've been swarmed in processing new cases. So there's certainly a lot of reform that needs to happen there, but I think now more than ever, we have a lot of people leading movements and talking to Congress and social media, bringing it to light that we need prison reform and we need, legal justice reform and we need, reform on all of it. So I don't know, there certainly it's certainly horrible for anybody to pass away unnecessarily or prematurely, or for anybody's life to be ruined. But even some of these cases like you're talking about in the George Floyd case, it was a horrible thing, but if reform is what comes out of it in the end, at least we get a positive out of a negative.
I don't see that we're getting reform right now, though. That's the thing that worries me, is like, I don't know how you get reform from, like, because they did write a new law where they outlawed I don't know exactly what it's called, so we'll just call it the knee on the neck practice.
Yeah.
They've outlawed that. And I mean, even going back to the Breonna Taylor case,
that was probably good after that video surfaced of
if it's something effective.
Derek Chauvin.
I personally think that officers should get more training on like grappling, so that way they don't have to go to, using any of their belt, the gun, the taser, the pepper spray, any of those types of things. I think they should be adept to, at least if it's a reasonable, just hand-to-hand type situation, not have to go to anything like that. Going in pairs even, so that way they're not immediately outnumbered. But I don't see what was done wrong, especially if you look at the autopsy report, both of them that were done for George Floyd, the one that his family requested and the one that the state did. They both said that he had huge amounts of fentanyl in his system. And so, like, with that being said, there was also a gentleman, the guy who was in the video with him. There was a lady and a guy. The guy who was in that video, he was actually supposed to be testifying on behalf of the state, and he recused himself the day before and pleaded the fifth. Once they put murder 3 back on the ticket. So murder 3 is if you...
Is that case still in trial, or how'd that work out?
Yeah, it's still in trial. So he's not testifying because of that. He pleaded the fifth. But murder 3, in Minnesota at least, is if you sell somebody a drug and they die from an overdose using it, then you can get charged with murder. And so once that was put
that all came out like when there are all those opioid overdoses. And
right.
Okay, gotcha. I'm tracking that now.
So once that was back up on the table, he was just like, I want nothing to do with it. Now, George Floyd's girlfriend, she said that guy had been their drug dealer. So, with all of those things out there on the table, I just don't feel like it's fair to make the conclusion that Chauvin did something wrong, and in turn, how do you make new policy based on that?
It's true. He was put in a bad situation, and he was following procedure, and he was dealing... Like, this was a horrible situation, but in that moment, before anything bad had happened, he was dealing with a troublemaker and person breaking the law in that moment. I'm not saying that's what identified George Floyd by any means, but as a police officer who is trained to respond to dispatch situations from that municipality, he was doing just that. And so it was a bad situation for everybody, for George Floyd, for the officer, for people who've gotten drug into bad conversations with relatives and friends and
right.
everything about it. It certainly has a trickle effect. So
I don't want to try to paint someone with a large brush. I don't feel like that's ever fair. People do have the capacity to change, and that's one thing that I think that we should definitely always try to remember. Just because, at one point I was doing crazy stuff. One point you were probably doing crazy stuff. We all had that kind of time, But
it's all right, I don't know that.
But you look at George Floyd's track record versus Officer Chauvin's. I haven't seen a multitude of times where Chauvin had been in trouble with excessive force, but I can see multiple times where George Floyd was using drugs, and that's not to say that he was a bad person because of that, because I think that people who are drug users, it should be decriminalized, and they should be getting mental and hospital help.
They need hospital and detox and physical, chemical body change help.
Exactly.
Honestly, if you're going to go through, prison is the last place you need to be if you're going to detox.
Exactly.
So,
you're going to mess
if an officer, if I don't know what department statutes and procedures are, especially with body cams nowadays, but if I was an acting police officer and I had somebody that was creating a situation that I had to go out and respond to, and then I had to go make an action on for drug related, I would be like, hey, the statute is that you get arrested and you go to jail for this, but I'm going to give you the option right now. I have to put you in my car and take you somewhere,
right?
But you're going to get in my car and we're going to go somewhere right now. You don't have that choice, but I can either continue to fulfill my duty of taking you down to the station and you can detox in jail, or I can take you and you can voluntarily go walk in somewhere.
Right, like a rehab.
At a clinic, a rehab.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have money or insurance, there's all kinds of places that will still take you.
Yeah, I mean,
and so
even charities too that are always willing to help.
Yeah,
I think people,
especially at the Affordable Care Act now, most people have some form of insurance, and I will say the Affordable Care Act made drug addiction a mental health, the Affordable Care Act certainly made health insurance drastically more expensive. But one thing it did do was kind of reclassify what certain categories are for treatment and qualifications. And so drug addiction and mental health are also now have to be covered legally by everybody and every insurer on every policy. And so if you have any form of coverage now, which most people do under the Affordable Care Act, you're covered for any addiction services. Again, if you're a veteran, I think too, you can even go to the VA over prison. Like if you're something, you can say, hey, I'm a veteran, take me to the VA, to the hospital, I'm having a breakdown, and I don't know that. I've never been arrested, or anything, but yeah,
straight and narrow.
We got off on a tangent on that, but on that point, yes, I think reform's needed, and prison is not the place for that. But I'm glad we agree on that matter.
I've seen so many people who have ended up in worse situations after going to prison for a drug issue, and I mean, like we both agreed on, it's something that you need like a doctor for. You start taking hard drugs, that's going to mess with your body's chemical makeup, and you're going to start to, like an addiction, you feel like you need something, and so your brain is now wired to be like, I gotta go get this. The same way that if I hold your nose right now, at some point you're going to gasp for air. Your body is in that same mode, constantly trying to get whatever the substance is. And so we should, if anything, at least have pity for those types of people, if it's not already, like just doing it out of an act of love. So we got things that we can work on, but the best thing about being an American is that we at least have an opportunity to say something about it. American flag goes up.
You do. We have freedom of speech. People think we can vote, but then they forget about the whole electoral college thing.
You don't think it's a good idea?
Oh, I think it's a good idea. I think most of the time, I think our forefathers were very wise in realizing that sometimes the general population may not be wise enough or be that tier of people to see what's best for the country from that point of view, which is why they established the electoral college, so that those who the people thought should be smart enough to make the decisions federally can do that.
When the initial setup for our congressmen, like the national ones who would go up to DC, the initial setup wasn't voted on by the general public like it is right now. It was initially initially it was set up so we would vote for our local officials, right? And so it was basically called like being chosen of better men. And so those elected officials would vote on people to go represent in Congress. And now I think we have this situation.
So there was like an electoral college to get to Congress.
In a sense, yeah. Except we knew who the electoral college was in that sense.
Yeah, I don't really know who the electoral college is.
No one does.
No.
That's the point. I
think it's probably a bunch of tech companies. The same people that ran ads to get Donald Trump elected in 2016 and blamed it on the Russians.
Did we really blame the Russians? Like, did we really blame them?
Facebook did.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, there was all this stuff on Facebook, but Facebook was like, whoa, well, the Russians paid for it, because anybody can just pay for ads.
It's like $1,500.
Well, you're the one taking their money and orchestrating it and doing all the work on it, Facebook.
Right. I mean, in 2016, it was like $1,500 taken out by like legitimately that we know of Russians for President Trump. But then we look at, our most recent elections, Mark Zuckerberg put hundreds of millions of dollars into that and even set up like polling sites with his own money. So it's like, what's the real issue? $1,500 or hundreds of millions.
Now, to be fair, though, in a fair voting system, if somebody has means and they want to invest in their community and they want to sponsor polling locations so more people can vote or work at the polls because more polls need to be staffed, you know, and it gets more people to come out and support the right to vote in their elections, part of me says, okay, that's a good thing as an American, but nobody does that without party agendas behind them either.
Yeah, like, I mean, you should have the option to do it. I just think we should be wary of who's dumping money into our elections. I feel like there should be a limit, because if you really want to make change in your community, then you can do that locally. You could do that with, you know, like a community program or even a statewide program. I don't know how much money you have. You've got hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe you can go across your entire state fixing up parks and stuff, or maybe you do something else like Scott Presley did.
What's that?
Scott Presley, he was the guy who went into Baltimore and picked up 2 or 3 tons worth of trash in inner cities, and they went around the entire
I heard
country.
about that.
Scott's awesome, bro.
That was
stupid
neat.
Tall though. I didn't think he was gonna be like. Scott's like, he's kind of lanky, really tall, but a really cool guy, and he's like super accessible. I don't even think he really wants to be the person who gets all the credit for that.
Does he manage all of his social media, or does somebody like
Yeah,
do
he
it
manages
for him and
himself.
I guess if you're walking around picking up trash all day, you might as well be carrying your phone with you, doing what I mean.
Yeah.
Dude, you can make so many cameos. I wonder if he's on. What was his name?
Scott Pressler.
Scott Presswood.
Pressler.
Hang on, I'm gonna look him up.
I got him on Twitter. He's got like, who knows how many followers now.
At this point,
hundreds
yeah.
of thousands.
It's cool too to get famous for doing something legitimately good and giving back.
I wish that was the way that we had like our political discourse.
What was that name again, Aaron?
Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Pressler, P-R-E-S.
I don't think so. Scott, if you listen to this episode, get on Cameo. We would love to support you.
But yeah, like, what if our political discourse, instead of like throwing shots at each other, like, oh, this person's so bad and this person is a white supremacist, like, if it was just, oh, I went out in my community and I raised $400,000, and then someone from the opposite party is just like, oh yeah, well, I went out into my community and I raised $502,000 for poor people. And it's like, well, I guess I won that one. Like,
that's
that
true, and they
so
actually
much
get in
better.
pissing contests over doing good and raising money and giving
Right.
back, you know?
It'd be worth it to me.
That would be neat. Hey, what would you think of that? What if we got LeVar Ball to do a video with us?
He's a clown, man.
He is a clown. Honestly, I wouldn't respect me as much if I did anything with LeVar Ball.
Well, if you get one of his sons, though, I might go for that.
Yeah, if y'all don't know who LeVar Ball is, he is the guy whose son went over to China because he got the opportunity of a lifetime to go play ball. And his son went, and even though he has millions of dollars, thought it'd be funny to go shoplift in a Chinese store
Or he didn't have millions
as
yet.
an American. And he shoplifted, and I don't know how much y'all know about international customs, but in China, that's like a death penalty, or they cut your hands off, and you know, you go to prison for a while. It's not like in America where they have no chase policies, and if you know you don't have money for beer, you just go grab 2 24-packs, you can walk right out of Harris Teeter and nobody does anything.
Really?
There, it's a big deal. Yeah, I got a lot of young. We were talking about how we weren't perfect earlier. I got a lot of stories there.
I've seen people steal rotisserie chicken, but never
rotisserie
beer.
chicken, never that, huh?
Heck yeah.
But no. And anyway, and the kid went to jail. And what does Donald Trump do right after Trump becomes president? The guy's got all the things he needs to do in the world, and he goes and negotiates with the president of China to release his son from jail unharmed. And when LeVar Ball was interviewed on TV, all he had to say about it was like, screw you, Donald Trump. Like, he wasn't going to thank Donald Trump. He wasn't impressed that Trump got his son out of jail. And when they asked him why, his answer was because Trump didn't bother to fly his son home on Air Force One too.
So excited. His other...
Like, I remember watching that, and the news anchor literally like...
I would have
like being like a LeVar supporter and still like being caught off guard, not even knowing how to respond to that.
Could you imagine though? Like, I want to see you go and negotiate with the with the CCP. Go.
It's like there was nothing that could make when you thought nothing else could make LeVar look like a bigger asshole. Like that was.
Let me tell you though, that right there is what it's like being in the black community. And like, you be a conservative.
What do you mean?
Okay,
elaborate on that.
So LeVar, he is so thick that even when something that I would test anyone in the world to try to do that. Not many people in the world who's going to go talk to the CCP and get someone out of trouble for stealing. That thickness is what it's like trying to talk about any issue. And if you bring up President Trump still, or former President Trump still, it's that kind of reaction. It's, but he didn't do this, and well, what about his taxes? And I'm like, man, look, you don't even want to pay your taxes, and you're worried about this guy paying taxes. Like, everyone, if they could figure out how to scheme or like work the system in a way where they only paid like $4 in taxes, they would do it. You want to keep your own money.
Speaking of Trump and taxes, you remember how like he kept refusing to give his tax returns to the IRS, and like they kept digging for it for years because they wanted to accuse him of paying less taxes. And then when they finally got it, and the New York Times got a hold of it and published it, they found out that Trump actually was lying about his taxes and his tax returns, and he had actually paid like $1 billion more in taxes than he actually had told people. It's almost like Trump was smart enough to realize that was going to come out later on, so he told people he actually paid less taxes than he did, thinking people were going to think the opposite. So when it did come out, Trump actually looked like a baller because he paid way more in taxes than he, so it's like, well, Trump did lie, but he actually gave the government an extra $1 billion than he even disclosed to us. So like when they were going after him to like try to pin him for like doing wrong, he only looked like a bigger leader.
You know, like one thing,
LeVar, show us your tax returns.
Oh yeah, I want to
LeVar.
I want to see Oprah's.
Oprah, LeVar, these are all open invites for this show. If we can get you guys on, we will fly you down here. Southwest Airlines, they have a great hub out of RDU.
And
we will do this show.
Let's get LeBron on here too, because I want to have a conversation about Malcolm X.
I mean, if we're going to have Oprah and LeVar, we might as well have LeBron on as well and just do the whole, four quadrant with them and Aaron Alexander.
I'll take you guys out for dinner.
Yeah.
Name a place.
Smithfield Chicken Barbecue.
That's pretty tasty. I've been there twice.
Now and later.
You're ridiculous. Yo. Oh my goodness.
Where we at? This has been a good show. I know we're creeping up on an hour now, but
really.
Yeah, so we've dived through a lot of content. If y'all have skimmed through this episode, or if you're hopping on late, we've talked about the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We've talked about what's been going on in DC with the dogs and the Bidens. We've been talking about some federal legislation and what needs to change. We've talked about our next episode. Constantine in the pond. Yeah,
I keep calling it a lake.
So our next episode, we later this week, if you're listening to this episode, we plan to do our next episode from a boat on a lake, and we're going to chunk Constantine off, and he's going to go scuba dive in the lake and scour the bottom and just see what he finds, and then he's going to bring it up to us as we broadcast, and we're talking about stuff, and we're just going to go on an adventure and see what we find. So I'm excited. And that wasn't planned either. We just figured that out on the show.
I want to see a treasure chest. I might put one in there.
You know there's like billions of dollars of like gold that's still unaccounted for, from like World War I and World War II. What if this was like one of the what if this is where the Fourth Reich is? Hitler's gold and stash and like time machine that he built is gonna all be under this pond.
If he did build a time machine, it was a dumb decision not to run to that before he killed himself.
Instead of his bunker. Right. No, Hitler didn't. Hitler fled to Venezuela, posed as a refugee. Everybody knows that. You haven't heard that?
No.
Oh yeah, dude. They said he died in his bunker, but there's been again, don't take my word for it. Y'all look this up, and we don't have time to go into all this now.
Kids?
Yeah, what's that?
They're like Hitler-looking kids.
No, look this up. Yeah, no, but so there was a bunch of people that Germans, like German refugees, like right after Hitler supposedly fell, that were like mass running out of the city and escaping the city, being loaded on boats and trains, and being taken to Venezuela to be refugee. And they were brought in tens or hundreds of thousands, lived in refugee camps, and lived the rest of their lives out as poor refugees.
Wow.
And there's all these accounts and pictures and people that say Hitler shaved his head, shaved his beard, changed his disguise, and started using a different, because I'm sure he spoke 5 languages.
Yeah.
And he lived out the rest of his life as a man in Venezuela, because I think he still kind of ran a ring, and you can take Hitler out of the Reich, but you can't take the Reich out of the Hitler, and he was still himself. So I'm gonna give you guys a website. It's
because his wife did commit suicide. Didn't he kill his kids too, or at least allegedly at this point? Now I'm not even sure. I don't know what the heck to believe out of these history books now. Shoot.
Yeah, I know they change history so often that they have to rewrite it to be politically correct.
Like 20 years, they're gonna write Candace Owens as a white woman.
I don't know. I can't find the. If I don't know, I can't find the link on it. If I find the link on that, we'll bring it back up on the show.
We'll bring it back, yeah.
I don't know. It's been a bunch of interesting topics. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. This has been a phenomenal episode. It's been a privilege to do this with my man Aaron Alexander over here, who is awesome co-host and is a bucket of knowledge. And not only that, tell us as we close out here, it's good to get you. You're on like a national tour right now, going everywhere, speaking, flying, doing things.
Where
can we see you in America next?
I will be back in Tennessee, in Nashville. Well, actually, first stop, Clemson on Thursday. There's a event. Tommy Lauren, Brandon Tatum, they'll be speaking out there, and I will be there. You can show up to that. The tickets are like $5, and I think that they are still on sale. Just go to like Clemson's Instagram account, and the link for that is in their bio. So that'll be on Thursday. Then right after Sunday, heading back out to Nashville until Thursday. Then we're hitting Chattanooga on the 17th. We've got a BLEXIT rally. That's going to be awesome.
Where is that going to be in Chattanooga?
The exact address is I gotta find it. It's somewhere in here. Hold on, I sent it to someone. Exact address. It's gonna be 1810 Chestnut Street.
Okay.
Chattanooga. Doors open at 3. We're starting promptly at 4 p.m. It's going to be amazing. Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, Will Witt, and then we have other confirmed speakers that are on the hush. We'll be releasing those out throughout the week. So you go to our BLEXIT page, BLEXIT America, on Instagram, Twitter, BLEXIT.com, if you want to find out about that kind of stuff. So that'll be the next move. And then we've got Jacksonville, North Carolina, Goldsboro, and we're working out Southern Florida right now. Got to find out the exact venue for that one. So
I told you guys, he's everywhere.
We're making it happen.
But y'all check us out. If y'all follow us, obviously, if y'all are watching the show right now, we are going to continue following and traveling around the country with Aaron and filming and putting up his content. So
we're going to get some vlogs up.
Be sure to follow him. We are going to have a separate playlist on this channel for Aaron and his work that is yet to be named, but he will let you guys know on Facebook once that's up. And we'll be producing it, so we're very happy about it, and look for more to come on him. He is making moves and doing big things, so we appreciate this.
And follow Will on the Instagrams, the Facebook, and the Twitters. Gotta be. Oh, and you're a TikToker.
We're doing TikTok. We're even making a TikTok of the show. I appreciate that, guys. We're on Instagram, will.marsh1. Of course, y'all, we have a bunch of Facebook pages. Follow us at The Way We See It or at Will Marsh. TikTok at Will's World Channel, or YouTube at Will's World Podcast and Audio. As y'all see, we're on TikTok now, and we're going to close it out. So, hang on.
Flip the camera.
I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm Will.
I'm Aaron Alexander.
We're closing it out. Join us live only on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Shoot, YouTube. Why not?
Perfect. Thank you, guys. We love y'all. Check us out next time. We'll be on the boat throwing Constantine overboard.
Yes, with a taser. We're out of here.